We are ready when you are
Oh,
ready.
okay. Cool.
And I will
That's
probably mute and dodge out real quick. I gotta go grab my laundry.
Uh-oh. I probably... let me play around with some stuff.
Also, there's an echo. Yeah, because you're not echoing. And it shouldn't be picking me up anyway.
Might... I thought I tested this yesterday and it seemed fine, but... No, I mean, we were testing it with the same...
Did you have your headset in?
How is this different? Oh, this is fun. Maybe...
Oh, I know, every time.
Oh, that fixed it? Nope.
Oh, hey, it's gone. Nope, I lied. It's a delay. Are you hearing the echo, or am just me hearing the echo? Are you? Now I'm all by myself. I'm still hearing the echo. It's me somehow. It's me. Oh my god, now there's like a triple echo. Oh my god. What is happening? Mics off, audio's.
Alright, hello and welcome. My name is Rhianna Bennett. I'm going to be doing a presentation on Overwatch and archaeology for the first Archeo Gaming Con. We had a bit of a technical difficulty trying to set up audio within the Discord channel, so I'm just going to be doing this solo and hoping that everyone can join in if you have any questions or any comments in the Twitch chat, and because I have that up and I can read that. But we will go ahead and get started. So I want to give kind of like a brief introduction to what archaeology and anthropology is. So anthropology is the study of human life, the study of human culture very broadly. We use a lot of different methods and theories and things to study what it means to be human. Archaeology within that broad spectrum is the study of the past. So today's presentation is going to focus on kind of how archaeology is represented within popular media, and specifically how it's utilized in the game Overwatch, and how it's presented, but also how archaeology can be used within video games such as Overwatch. Throughout this entire weekend, you're going to see a lot of really cool archaeologists doing a lot of really cool studies on a lot of different games, and how like the how very specific and how vast they can take their archaeological methods within a video game, and how poorly some video games represent it. So a lot of cool things to be checking out. But so in popular culture, archaeology is not really presented all that accurately. We usually see it with dashing adventurers in these exotic locations. We barely see any digging. We never see them doing any sort of paperwork. Just them coming upon this perfectly presented relic, trying to be the bad guys to get it and using it for good, or putting it in a museum. So kind of like the stereotypical people that you see, of course, you have Indiana Jones, in a museum, you have Lara Croft and Nathan Drake. So kind of like the stereotypical people that you see, I guess, are quintessential. You have Lara Croft and Nathan Drake as kind of the I guess, are quintessential pop cultural representations of archaeology so far, and they're not that good. So when we talk about archaeology as it's represented in pop culture, it's not actual archaeology. So these varied representations are pretty much all that the general public can receive, which leads to most people not really knowing much beyond that it deals with history or old things. And so I always kind of like to bring up this study that was done in 2018 by the Society for American Archaeology. It showcased that while almost all the people surveyed within the study thought that archaeology is important work, a little bit over half of them thought that it had to do with dinosaurs. So there's still a pretty big disconnect of what archaeology is. They also had another survey that they did in 2000, when they asked, like, what do you think of when you hear the term archaeology? 42% associated it with digging, and that came with all sorts of connotations. 20% spoke of bones and artifacts in past cultures, and in that study, 10% associated with paleontology, which paleontology is the study of dinosaurs, not archaeology. So it's kind of interesting to kind of see where, in American society in particular, and within pop culture, archaeology is valued but not understood. So you kind of start to wonder, like, what are they valuing about archaeology if they don't really understand it? And a lot of ways that we can see that is how is it portrayed within popular culture? How does their understanding of archaeology, based on how they've learned it, how does that bleed into the representation within these different medias of TVs, movies, and books? So that's kind of the niche that I like to get into. I love to kind of break apart how video games and how movies and different things represent archaeology, and how archaeology can be found within it. So that's kind of what we're going to delve into today. And I'm going to do that through the video game Overwatch. I'm going to be going back and forth within the game. So I have a couple of videos to show you, a couple of images to kind of help make a point. And then I will be going into the game. I'm not actually going to be playing it. I'm just going to be showing you guys some of the maps that are used within the game to kind of showcase, because they do, you play essentially in an archaeological site in 3 or 4 of them. So I kind of want to show you guys, or show the archaeologists really, how this game presents archaeology or archaeological sites. So the first thing I kind of wanted to do is showcase how Overwatch, when it was first unveiled, which was in 2014, how it was presented to the public as a brand new video game. And I think it's very telling. So we'll go ahead and give that a watch. Let me make sure that I have everything right. Let me know if you can hear that.
Conflict. As the world teetered on the brink of anarchy, a new hope arose. An elite international task force charged with ending the war and restoring liberty to all nations. Overwatch. Soldiers, scientists, adventurers, oddities. Guardians who secured global peace for a generation. Under its steadfast protection, the world recovered. And today, though its watch has ended, its soaring ideals of freedom and equality will never be forgotten.
so cool. In that one battle, they had Soundquake. Remember, he has, like, chest pistols? So which one's your favorite? Mine's Fusionator. No. Tracer. Yeah, Tracer. She's like, cheers, love. The cavalry's here. Pew, pew, pew. Whoa. That's Doomfist's gauntlet. Oh man, they said he could level a skyscraper. And remember, he was all fighting and Winston beat him and was like, Primal Punch!
That's only in the holovids. Everybody knows Overwatch got shut down. Half of them are just mercenaries now.
Enjoying the exhibit? All right, playtime's over. Get to cover.
Come on, move it!
There you are.
What are you looking at? Don't worry, loves. Cavalry's here. Come on, big guy. Get up. Oh no!
Stay here.
Watch out!
Hey!
You know, the world could always use more heroes. Yeah! That was awesome!
So yeah, that was the unveiling of the game Overwatch in 2014, and in order to represent, or how the game developers thought to best represent the unveiling of Overwatch is to showcase how this group was revered by its society, how it was important to the culture, and placed the very opening sequences that you ever see for the game Overwatch in a museum stealing artifacts. So I think that says a lot for how we're going to see the game kind of develop in the future. I just thought that was a really interesting aspect of the game, which I had kind of forgotten about until I started doing research for this panel. I had, in the back of my mind, I was just like, I feel like I remember the game having some sort of museum sequence, and so when I looked, I figured out that it was the very first trailer that they ever released for the game was this short film taking place in a museum over the importance of an artifact. So you get kind of both how archaeology is represented, and how you can look at material culture within video games over a stolen artifact, so you also get some of the stereotypes. So within Overwatch, the game, it's sort of easy to play the game, but also miss this backstory and the lore that they do develop. They spend a lot of the aspects of Overwatch is kind of done outside of the game. Many important events or kind of the history that they discuss within this video game occurred 30 years prior to its inset present day, which they say is, like, they quote it as near future, and some people have given some date around like the mid 2070s. So the game has about 30 years of backstory to develop for its heroes and the current playable locations. So by the US standards, they're not all technically historic sites yet, but they're getting there. So most of the lore for Overwatch is presented through comics, short films, character biographies. They've actually written a novel that came out recently, and they also have a lot of voice lines that they use within the game that kind of promote the storytelling that they kind of interweave as you play throughout it, but that's not what the game is focused on. It's mostly like a 6v6 PvP FPS game, but people that do play the game can get very involved within learning the backgrounds of each location and each character. It has a very interwoven lore that people do not get obsessed over, but they do kind of study it, and they kind of work as detectives or archaeologists in trying to interpret different things within the game. So with each patch and event, I didn't mean to go into the game yet. I still need to scroll. So one of the things that I mostly want to be able to define for those that aren't familiar with archaeology is the term material culture. It's not really a term that you hear too often, but in short, a synonym for it is artifact. So it's a piece of material that was utilized by this group, and they are, in short, just items, anything that were utilized by humans. They help us to understand past human groups and what they deemed important. In archaeology, while digging and excavations are the most crucial parts of the process, it is actually the smallest. That's where where we talked about the public perception of archaeology is all digging all the time, but in reality, it's pretty much the smallest portion of it. The key to most archaeological research is the interpretation of what you found, and how you found it and where you found it. So what do the artifacts, i.e. the material culture, and their placement within the ground tell us about those that were here or the people that we're studying? And so in Overwatch, each setting, each map, they feature a lot of decorative items that can help build an environment to help tell the story. So that's kind of what we're going to look at as we delve into the game. And so what I'm going to do first is kind of look at the stereotypical representations of archaeology that are featured within some of these maps. So I'm going to look at two of them. One is called the Ilios Ruins, so that kind of gives you an idea of what to expect. The job does do a great job at representing diversity. It tries to make different maps that are across the world. So they have, right now we're going to go into kind of like their Grecian map. And then we're also going to look at Temple of Anubis, which obviously is in Egypt. So we're going to dive into those. I'm just going to kind of zoom around, mostly just to kind of give you an idea of how they set up their maps. So I feel like the artists do a good job when they try to pick up a map design. They'll usually try to follow some of the architecture. So you've got, that's neat areas. I don't know if you could probably try to conduct your own phase one or architectural history of the area, but I do kind of want to zoom in on some of the areas because one of the things that I keep trying, as an archaeologist, I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, are they trying to represent this as an actual excavation site, or are they, I don't know exactly what they're trying to do. So sometimes they'll have like pots scattered around, which are breakable, so that makes my heart cringe sometimes. Then you'll see kind of these generators, which I see in a lot of video games that they do that. They'll put like generators around the place, which, I mean, maybe some archaeologists and archaeological excavations use it, but I've never been one of them. Sorry, I'm new to PC. I'm trying to get used to these controls. And so here I think is a jackhammer, and not really sure what else this is. So this is, in my archaeological interpretation of the material culture that I'm witnessing right now, I think they're trying to showcase some sort of construction. Maybe they're trying to rehabilitate the sites. I wouldn't really want to say that any of this is excavations, but they do call it ruins, so they don't hint in any way that there's archaeological excavations happening here, but it's still definitely what we would consider an archaeological site. And pretty much the same with Temple of Anubis. It's mentioned in some of the lore as being studied archaeologically, but let me try and find it. There it is. No. What am I doing wrong? Okay, so now we're going to go into Temple of Anubis and take a look around at that one. This is another one where you can kind of actually get interested in how they place materials to be able to represent a culture, and how they do the architecture and the setting. So again, you've kind of got what this would kind of be, kind of like the modern day city, and different, so you have items that they would be selling and stuff, but then you kind of look this way and you see that they have kind of like a modern futuristic archaeological site for the Temple of Anubis. And so in this one again, are they conducting construction, rehabilitation, or are they conducting archaeology? That's one of the things that there was a piece of lore that was dropped that said they were conducting archaeology here. Let's see if I can go into this room. I think I can as a spectator, yes. So there's a discussion or some piece of information that says there was something found behind that wall, and it's akin to the stereotype of aliens somehow being involved or something supernatural. So that lends itself to the age-old kind of racist stereotype of course aliens had a help in building the pyramids or something along those lines, which I kind of rolled my eyes at. I think most archaeologists are starting to roll their eyes at. So it's an archaeological setting that's rife with all of the archaeological tropes within pop culture. But yeah, so these are the two archaeological sites, quote unquote, that are within here. But there's also aspects within that I kind of want to reverse this role now. So we've kind of looked at how archaeology is presented in the game, and so now I want to kind of flip that on its side and look at how we can use archaeology to understand some stuff. So it's well known, and I've kind of hinted at for those that don't know Overwatch, Blizzard likes to add different items for events, new heroes, and other things. So they'll add Easter eggs and hints and teases about a new character or new background of lore that they're going to be adding to the game or releasing at some point soon. And they'll leave it up to the players to interpret it. They won't give you any sort of hint. They'll just add something. And so one example that they've done this is in the map called Petra, which again is another archaeological site that they've turned into a map. Where is it? And that one actually had a very interesting piece of Easter egg added that I'll try and find. I'm trying to remember where exactly it's located. But so yeah, this one is another one of those that is depicted from a real archaeological site. So you have Petra right there. That looks pretty cool. And they've kind of added futuristic. So this one is definitely more of an excavation site rather than the last two. So you have like tents set up, and we'll kind of zoom in to other areas where you can basically see like a research center where they're wanting to download and upload any sorts of information. So you have like battery level powers, workstations, different things like that. Trying to remember where exactly it is. Okay, it's this one right here. So on this data pad, just randomly in the map, if I can find it correctly and zoom in. So it says, oh dear lord, survey of the uppermost levels of the temple is almost complete. And so some people are thinking that this is the Temple of Anubis. Planning for excavation of the lower chambers. Our greatest finds so far are that the statues of, oh well, I guess not Temple of Anubis, this must be in the Ilios, of Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite, and we are hopeful that they will be the first of many. And so it cites a character's name and a time, and then it has a response of early imaging past has revealed a hidden chamber. Al-Haman believes that it might be a significant find, and we have found a narrow opening through which we can perform further excavation. So this is the first tangible piece of evidence of archaeology being actually discussed instead of just, you know, hinted at throughout the game. We know that there's archaeological characters that are within the game and in the lore, and a lot of people have gone so far as to say that these, either Ionitis or Faisal, might become playable characters at some point. So it's little things like this that they'll add to the game to kind of make all of the players basically theorize and come up with different meanings, different interpretations, just like all archaeologists do when they try to understand the meaning. And so another example of this is in the map of Numbani. I'm actually going to take us out of the game real quick to show you kind of that. So one way that they teased the release of a new character is they completely changed a map without giving any warning. So this is the map called Numbani that takes place in Africa, and this is what it looked like before. It was just the location of an airport, and then they randomly included an update where they showed it smashed, and you had robots lying on the floor, just something had occurred, but they wouldn't say what it was. Another portion of the map, part of the game was taking over this, what they call a payload, and with the update it was removed. So similar to the first introductory trailer, they stole the artifact, so that's kind of reminiscent of that. It was removed from the game, and then a few weeks later they released a new character with it. But it's kind of interesting to kind of see this play out with the players acting as archaeologists or detectives, looking at these different items or pieces of material culture, tangible pieces within a video game, and being able to make their interpretations based off of it. And so there were videos made off of it and everything. It's pretty entertaining to watch this sort of thing play out, so they can determine what they want to know about the game. Okay, and so next I want to kind of give another example of that. We're going to watch another video called Honor and Glory, and then I will take you through that map. So we'll just kind of use archaeological methods again after we watch this.
I thought we talked about this. You don't have to do this anymore. Winston's message wasn't meant for you. This isn't your fight. Papa told me, after so many years of service, you gave Overwatch everything, and then they pushed you out. Why would you go back to them? What were you still fighting?
So, that's it. You're leaving us.
I have been called. I must answer. It is a great honor.
Disappear into some secret organization. Give up the glory of being a crusader? I don't think so.
He wishes he got picked.
The Crusaders are immortal defenders of Germany. People will be singing songs about our legacies.
Our legacies are our deeds. And this war is bigger than all of us.
Drop huts to the east, they're coming!
All right, people. They're playing our song. Stick with your dance partners. Let's crush those rust buckets.
Here's your walking stick, old man.
Live with honor.
Die with glory.
We work as one! Rocket up! Fire!
I love the wind in my hair.
Get back and protect your team!
Ah, they're just slowing me down. Ah! Besides, they'll fight!
He's Reinhardt!
What is that? That is mine!
Damn it, Reinhardt! Reinhardt!
Marvel sings!
We're being overrun! Fall back to the rally point. I'll get Reinhardt.
I had this.
Obviously. They're cutting us off. Let's move! That door won't hold. Get back to the unit. I will hold them off.
And let you have all the glory? We will fight our way back together!
No. I'm staying here.
But without you...
Lieutenant! You took an oath to be a crusader. Now, keep it.
I won't leave you!
The team needs you. Be their shield. Reinhardt, live with honor.
Die with glory, old friend. I must answer. Always.
Alright. So, that was Honor and Glory. I'm now going to take you into that map. So, the location that was quote-unquote filmed on is actually a playable map that you play like within the game. And so the first time I ever played it, I had never seen anything about it, but I was just like, as an archaeologist, I'm walking around this map, I was just like, there's history here that you can be able to tell by looking at the material culture and the setting and the environment, the landscape that they've portrayed within this. I didn't know that they made short films like this. So, let's see. I always do it wrong every time.
Traveling to Eichenwald.
So yeah, I would want to use, so this map is kind of how, even with the most basic of archaeological theory and methodological knowledge, you can kind of use these methods to map and interpret a site within these built environments of video games. So, I mean, just looking around, you can kind of see this is basically an abandoned town, an abandoned city, and based on the movie that we saw, we know that at some point a battle was fought here, and so they actually have the decayed bastion units, you know, scattered around the map. You have cars, you know, all of these different things that could be dateable if you considered it an archaeological site. So it's, you know, exactly at what point in time this map is trying to present you with if you know the history. You've got different pieces that I would speak that. I can know a little bit of German, but I'm not going to embarrass myself today. So yeah, I just thought it was really neat the first time I ever played this map that you could pinpoint exactly in time where this is if you know the lore and how they present it, and then essentially you could perform an archaeological investigation in it. As much as if the buildings didn't stand today, you would be able to tell based on your knowledge of how things decay, what's left behind, what material culture would be left behind. So we have obviously a pub that's going to have, you know, what's going to be left behind are the metal items. You have the cups, the drinks, the bottles, reminiscent of breweries and pubs and alcohol and intake. And then, so you have a street, you have a bicycle, you have decayed bastion units, and then there's like a musical store, so you have like guitars, pianos, trumpet, a computer store. So, you know, these different, based on where you are, the location within the city that you're in, you can tell a story of this town just based on the material culture that's presented in the environment that these gaming developers build for you. And we can go even further through the town. So obviously there's more decayed bastion units within this setup. And then we'll zoom in even further. Go through the castle that they have set up, which in itself is dateable, different things like that. And then the same shot from the movie, they still have them sitting here. So we would have, you know, human remains to deal with that we would have had to have excavate. Can you play this game and not do the fighting? Unfortunately, well, there kind of is. I mean, right now, I mean, you can make your own custom game and play around with your friends and not really have to do anything. Like I can put myself into the game right now. I kind of have it in spectators mode just to be able to walk around, because if I put myself in one of these, I wouldn't be able to get into a lot of the stuff. into a lot of the rooms because they have it kind of cordoned off based on if you're an attacker or defender. And so you actually can become one of the Bastion units. I call it a Bastion unit, and his name is Bastion, or its name. It doesn't have a gender. So these are all the playable characters that you can do. And so you can pretty much have your own fun within this game. It doesn't have to be fighting, but at the same time, if you want to play the game as it's meant to be played, then yeah, you are going to have to do a 6v6. And yeah, you can have classes, you can teach, you can become a part of a team. I'm actually part of an Overwatch team. We have a coach, we have teammates, we have managers, you get reviewed, you can take classes in it on how to get better in it. You could have an Overwatch history course if you wanted to, with how much that they have. There's a lot that you could do within this game just based off of both the anthropology and the archaeology and the history that's within it, and of the game itself, and to teach them about sites and archaeology. Yeah, you probably could. So you're talking about like going into like Petra, and talking about the real world history involving Petra and Temple of Anubis and different things like that, or in Egypt. Yeah, you probably could. I think that Overwatch probably isn't the best video game to try and teach like shovel testing or phase 1 survey, because you can't really interact with the sites. You can move around the objects, but usually that just kind of breaks them. So like I was watching a few of the presentations earlier that showed like essentially a phase 1 investigation being done in Elder Scrolls Online. Like that is not something that you could conduct within Overwatch itself. You could definitely kind of teach them about like the importance of provenience based, like how I showed in Eichenwald, where based on the location of these materials in this one space, even without the sign that said computer store, you would be able to tell that it's a computer store based on the material culture and the things that are connected within it. That can definitely be done. I mean, you could kind of do it by just tell them to look at the objects around you right now, and what would you be able to say about the room that you're in. So I think Overwatch, I wouldn't think necessarily that it could be used in a K through 12 education sense to showcase proper archaeological methodologies, but it can definitely be used to kind of talk about the theories of material culture and importance of provenience, and just kind of like the idea of what are objects, what are artifacts, and how can we identify them and interpret them, which is kind of what I think can be used, especially with it when it comes to some of these maps. And I think that it'd be interesting to watch gamers in general kind of be able to start recognizing that. Like we use the term Easter eggs all the time, but we never, like, what are we talking about when we think of the term Easter egg? You're talking about an item that's supposed to represent a hint. So it's something that you're meant to interpret, and I feel like that's kind of archaeological in essence, but everyone kind of brushes that off. So yeah, I think in conclusion for this, I think that a lot of gamers can start to utilize these archaeological skills to kind of interpret their maps and set designs given by the game designers, because in many instances these game designers are making built environments that you could tangibly represent the real world through artifacts, but just in a digital world. So I think that gamers can easily, if they know nothing about a game, just go into the game, look at the built world, look at the hints that they're trying to give you about it, and interpret the environment that you're in. And I think that that's really interesting, and how more like archaeology can become better known around to the public if we just kind of talked about different like small things like that instead of just digging, because that's not all that we do. And as well as just with the representations of archaeology and pop culture in general, we could do better to to talk to game developers when they're representing archaeology to do a little bit more than making it look like a construction zone, because I think that that's a lot of the times that I've come across it in the games and RPGs that I've played. They have like a total station or different construction materials, or they just whittle it down to stereotypes and offhand comments. So like in Overwatch, the only explicit archaeology they talk about is one data pad that talks about excavations, and a museum where it gets absolutely obliterated, where they're trying to steal an artifact, and different things like that. So that's kind of the conclusion that I had. So I can open it up to any sorts of questions that you guys had. We kind of started doing a back and forth, but I'm free to open anything else you guys want to ask. Okay, for the dinosaurs. I'm sorry. That's not what I do. That's what, when I was in grad school, someone asked me, they were just like, if there's one thing that you could let everyone in the world know about archaeology, what would it be? And that was it. It's just, I just want them to know that I don't do dinosaurs. Because I feel like once the world knows those two distinctions, we'll be set. I see someone has a question. Okay, so Petra is 100% not accurate. Yeah, I feel like I don't think romanticize is the right term, but it's like they draw inspiration, but not in a good way, I guess is what you could say. How far do you think they research these places? That's a really good question. I feel like I've heard somewhere where they're sent to the locations, and I'm sure they have a lot of really great digital artists and creators that draw the buildings and stuff, but as far as like actual historical background research of the site, I don't think that they did very much. I'm not too certain, because I know I'll actually show you. Let me go back to it, because I'll show you one thing that kind of made me laugh. Deathmatch, because they do kind of have a small section of the map that you can. Oh, dang it! Why does it keep doing this? Oh, and I don't think it's a very realistic game at all. It's definitely a futuristic game, so they try to take... It's hard to say if they take any semblance of the real world besides the locations, because they definitely have like real world countries being represented, but in terms of actual realistic interpretations of each of these areas, probably not that great.
Now traveling to Petra.
And again, I'm really bad at PC stuff, so bear with me as I try to remember the buttons. Oh, that's not it. Okay, so this area right here, they have like one little smidgen, and so, it would be, I don't have very much knowledge when it comes to that area. I do like southeastern US archaeology, so I would love for an archaeologist that knows the cultural and material culture surrounding Petra and telling me, is this actual a good representation of the artifacts that you would find in that area? Because right now it seems very stereotypical. So yeah, that was the one little snippet that just made me chuckle out loud when I first saw it. But yeah, so far, I think they definitely like went to the places to study the architecture, but I don't know if they went as far as actually studying the cultures and working material items around it. But yeah, you can go. Oh my gosh, I do not know. Hannah dropped down. I'm still learning. So like, yeah, different things like this. So would that be something common that you would see? It'd definitely be interesting to see someone that has done archaeology in this area really go through and critique their representation. They have not made a map of Florida, so I can't be a judge of how well they present it. It would be interesting to see how they represented Florida. But so yeah, so like would this art style be reminiscent? So the building is actually just a facade with one room behind it. It's not an actual building with hallways. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's more what's the term I'm looking for? Inspiration of Petra. So they just kind of stole the one thing that everyone could recognize about it, and then just kind of did what they wanted to with it, which kind of is reminiscent with a lot of the stuff that they do. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot that Blizzard could learn in terms of how to represent archaeology. They keep building into the future. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's what that means. Oh, my chat. So how do I tell my 10-year-old what an archaeologist is? So archaeologist is just the study of the human past, is kind of the broadest definition of the term. So it's strictly humans. We want to know all about the humans. Dinosaurs is paleontology. So whenever you hear paleontology, that's Jurassic Park. I've been confused with that movie a lot too. We play with broken things and make up stories. That is not wrong. That is very much true. All right. Any other questions? Alright, I think that will conclude me then. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you around. I think I'm giving I have a YouTube channel where I'm going to be showcasing some episodes where I played through Uncharted tomorrow, and then on Sunday I'm going to be playing The Sims 4 and their Jungle Adventure pack. So we're going to have a lot of fun just kind of ripping it to shreds, but I'm going to have a little fun with it. So I hope to see you guys there.